there's a lot of those untold stories about like the maneuverings that happen up there at the top of the draft. When you have 6 quarterbacks go in the first 12 picks, certainly that's the case. I think that the Vikings process of getting JJ McCarthy is instructive of how complicated things can get in the draft. So Caleb Williams is always going number 1, right?
Yep.
The Bears certainly aren't going to trade Caleb Williams to Minnesota. So now you know, all right, cross one name off the board. Jaden Daniels, realistically, is probably always going to Washington. They weren't going to move off the pick.
When did that switch? Because it seemed like, for a year it was Caleb and Drake May, and then Jaden Daniels about halfway through last year was like, maybe teams could get him at the end of the first round. And then he won the Heisman Trophy, and it was like, oh, he's going in the top 3.
Yeah, I mean, it was Jaden Daniels. Nobody had, if you talk to scouts, nobody had him as a first-round player. Probably not a top 3-round player. But he did put on some weight. He put a lot of time in. They have this virtual reality program there that he put a ton of hours into
I heard a lot about
to
that.
really get better. And scouts say it was legit. It was his work ethic. He put it together. There was a lot of stuff that happened at Arizona State. He was not a popular guy. His mom was not popular with that program by the end. There were just all these different dynamics. He said he was coming back. Then the NCAA stuff came out. And then all of a sudden he's transferring. All that happened, but he flourished in the environment at LSU. And last year, I want to say he had 40 touchdown passes, which was over double any other year in his career. He had the best possible season at the best possible time. And so Jaden Daniels, when you dug in, now they seriously considered other options here. I said it, and I know a lot of Commanders fans picked up on it a month or so ago at the league meeting, that when I talked to people there, they believed the Commanders would take, potentially, JJ McCarthy. And they continued to explore J.J. McCarthy. He had an unbelievable pro day at Michigan. The Commanders were well represented there among a lot of other teams because Michigan had like 75 guys in this draft. And Rich celebrated every single one of them on TV with the fight song. And so there was real consideration of that, which was why when they brought in that group of quarterbacks, including Penix and J.J. and Drake May and Jane Daniels for the now infamous Topgolf trip, it made sense because they were really still working through exactly what they were going to do. But people within the league always believed that with Cliff Kingsbury's offense, with just the dynamic abilities of Jaden Daniels, he was probably going 2. So cross those 2 off. 3 is where it got interesting because the Patriots were listening. They were taking calls. They were willing to hear, okay, what can we potentially get for this pick? And so the Vikings, as well as the Giants, were both involved. I'm trying to trade up. For the Vikings, the target would have been Drake May. That would have been the guy just because the traits are there. They were high on J.J. McCarthy, too. They were high on Michael Penix. But Drake May, just because of the height, weight, speed, the arm talent, all those things. If you can, now accuracy is a knock on Drake May. He's not naturally accurate, so there's going to be a project there in terms of mechanical things and whatnot. But they wanted to target him and try to go up and get him. They hired Josh McCown, who coached Drake May in high school. They simply couldn't do it. They were trying to make offers leading up to the draft. They were doing it again during draft week. They put in one more Hail Mary on the clock with the Patriots. But at that point, New England had already resolved, we're taking Drake May. Now things get interesting because Arizona's there at 4. At 5's the Chargers. The Vikings, while they really, really like J.J. McCarthy, who's now their quarterback, from a value perspective, they weren't going to be involved in trying to trade up for him. They simply weren't going to go not to 4 or to 5 to leapfrog the Giants. They were making a calculated bet. The Giants aren't going to take him. So Arizona, which have been listening to offers, they stand in and they take Marvin Harrison Jr. The Chargers, who I think were open to moving down, and they know that they've got a lot that they had to do, but they were probably realistically going to stand in and take Joe Alt, which they did. Now you're sweating it out if you're Minnesota on, all right, are we right? And they're not going to take JJ. Sure enough, they take Malik Neighbors after all the signals that have been out there that they were considering a quarterback there. For where they're at, and once those top 3 guys were off the board, going with Neighbors made a lot of sense. At 7, you're not concerned about the Titans at 7. You know they're not in the quarterback bucket. 8, the Falcons surprise everybody. I mean, everybody. And I know it had been speculated upon. I know Rappaport, who was just on the show, had said it before the draft. Hey, don't be surprised. But it always felt to people in the league like a smokescreen. Like, yeah, you like Michael Penix, but there's no way you're taking him at 8 right after signing Kirk Cousins to a $100 million guaranteed deal. Well, the Falcons were having trade calls. They were looking into trading down. But this is the complicated part, and every GM will tell you every week, you say, oh, yeah, just trade out of the pick. You need someone to do it, and you need to get the right value. They end up standing in and realize about 5 minutes onto the clock, we're not able to get out of this pick. They take Michael Penix. Now, if you're the Vikings, you have to be sweating it out a little bit because they had JJ McCarthy and Michael Penix pretty close on the board. JJ was above Penix, but they were both guys that the Vikings would have been comfortable taking at 11. Now one of those options is gone. And the team on the clock at 9 is the Bears, who are still not going to trade with you because you're within the division.
Right.
So the Bears clearly are not going to take a quarterback again, but they could have traded out. They don't. They stand and they take Rome Odunze. Now at 10, the risk for the Vikings are the Broncos, are the Raiders, is somebody going to leapfrog us, take it JJ McCarthy. Right or wrong, the Vikings are under the impression, hey, somebody might be trying to trade this pick. Let's just not take any chances, so they move up to 10 and get JJ McCarthy. But that's the high wire act, pick by pick, as this thing is playing out, that you don't know really until the Patriots don't trade with you at 3. You don't 100% know how this is going out, but that's why you strategize and you have everything in place. And now the next drama in Minnesota, besides Justin Jefferson's contract, will be, is it JJ or is it Sam Darnold as your week 1 starting quarterback?
Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.